listening to Let's Go, the weekly anime podcast about weekly anime from Dynamite in the Brain and Secret of the Sailor Madness. So come along and hang with the Let's Go gang. It's Dwayne.
Hello.
There's no Niall, but there is me, Brian. And on this episode, we are covering anime that aired the week of September the 16th to the 22nd of September, 2023, starting with the one thing that didn't air that week, Me and Roboco, episode 24, Idols and Roboco.
Continues to be fun to pretend it's coming out week to week, because otherwise I probably would watch it all because it's very funny.
Yeah, and it's short, and the next episode plays, and it's so short that the Crunchyroll app can't really fuck up, though it does have the sound apparently fucked up on this episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Roboco wants to be an idol, so she's at an audition. I love the way this just doesn't really deal with any setup. It's just like bang to the situation because we've only got 2.5 minutes.
Gotta get it done.
Yeah.
She's there ostensibly to support Mako, but she actually does want to be like kind of seen as a diamond in the rough, so she's like practicing in the background and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes, the Simon Cowell figure is like, well, we want her, and her. The rest of this is formality, but there's something missing, and he needs something else.
He's satisfied in that all order maids are going to be good at singing and dancing and all that jazz because they can be programmed. You can just load up the program for singing and dancing. They're good, and it's just like there's no pizzazz to it. There's no like work that I really have to do. I just like if only I could find a diamond in the rough. What's that? A muscly woman. What the hell is she? She's singing her own fucking song. I think it is, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's really impressed with Roboco. Puts her in the group. Makes her the lead of the group. Essentially, we learn everything about the group by them going to a concert and supporting her, and she's doing very strange things in the concert, like feats of endurance and strength.
Feats of endurance and strength, and like coming out and doing like a real song on an acoustic guitar, like dressed all kind of nearly punk, like yeah.
Basically, Mondo is like, well, this is anything like an idol, but then he's shocked that everybody is really into it. But then he realizes, with Roboco gone, my room seems awfully big. And what was my life? How did I live without Roboco before she showed up in my life? At which point she climbs through the window.
And says, "Yeah, I'm done with that now, because being your order maid is all my thing. I got that idol stuff out of my system. We're never going to revisit that plot point, no sir."
And everyone's happy, apart from Gachi Gorilla, who is such a big Roboco fan, and then Mondo is having to point out, Gachi, she's right here.
While he's lamenting, it's like, I'm getting Roboco withdrawal. It's like she's in the room reading Jump behind you. But yeah,
it's a good fun episode. I always like it when they just animate Roboco in an attractive manner without making it a joke. It's always fun. Then into this week's episodes, we've got One Piece episode 1076, the world that Luffy wants. What does he want? He wants a world where everybody can eat food.
Where everyone's good. And on my estimations, it should be upwards of season 9 on the Netflix anime. We'll fucking see. They'll get there quicker. They'll get there quicker if they want to. Yeah.
I think it'll be season 6 in my insane abridged version.
I think your insane abridged one is pretty fucking good. Like you said, they set up the Norland stuff so they don't have to do a whole volumes flashback, so they can really compress Skypiea. Yeah.
But yeah, so Bobo manages to move the island out of the way.
Because through belief in himself and also, oh Jesus, I really need to move it out of the fucking way, Luffy is not pulling this punch. This punch that's been coming for 3-4 episodes now? 2 episodes. Two. Okay. I'm not complaining. It's a big punch. So is this going to take a couple episodes to hit?
Just let's briefly pause for Orochi to get his head cut off. And,
I mean, if you're gonna, that's a good thing to pause on. Yeah.
To Jinbe and Raicho to finish putting the fire out. I think they do this.
They do. They're both like, yeah, we did it. Basically, they don't exchange any words or anything. They're just like, we are so cool, and they have to put the fire out in a whole castle. So yeah, again, 2 episodes. That's not so bad.
But yeah, essentially the big thing here is the complete destruction of Kaido's worldview. As he is a dragon surrounded by a bigger flame dragon, and this is not enough. Cannot fathom. He's talking. He has a flash. We get the full flashback of his life all the way through.
It's very
Uh,
well done as well for like also it's fucking gorgeously animated. But it's very well done for it's kind of like you're kind of on his side, you know, that kind of way. Yeah. You kind of see
yeah,
it's like I see why you've done the things you've done now because the world was fucked your entire upbringing, basically.
yes, but the way the conclusion you've reached is the wrong conclusion.
Yeah. Your conclusion was to the world was cruel and shitty to me, so I'm going to make it worse, but with me on top. It's just like, no, you fucked up. That's incorrect.
Yeah, here's a punch in the face for your trouble.
Mm.
We do learn like the reasons why he'd been caught by the government various times is because he got hungry, and that was how he got to eat by
Mm.
turning himself into the Marines and then breaking free again.
And the funny thing is, like, that lines up directly with Luffy's very simple fucking thing. I have a very simple reason for destroying your entire fucking evil plan and worldview and all that jazz. It's like, I want to make a world where people can eat as much as they want. It's like, God is like, oh shit, I would have fucking loved that. Yeah, actually, that would be really good. I mean, he doesn't get to react to that. He's getting punched in the face, so you know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the final bit is him and King discussing Joy Boy and saying, Joy Boy, you know who Joy Boy is? It's the guy who'll defeat me. And then King's like, well, I guess I'm
That's
never
not
going
gonna
to meet
happen.
Joy Boy.
But I better stick around you because like that would be the way to meet the guy who defeats you. Unless I get taken out by Zoro earlier on. That wouldn't help. Yeah.
Um, and that's the last thing he sees as he's punched through the earth into a bit of magma.
Yeah. It's extreme, but I guess Big Mom needs company, so you know. It's good as well. I do like the way it again the framing of it is really nice of the prayers going up and finally reaching the god. In this case, Luffy is the god whose prayers are being answered by him punching that fucking dragon. I think one of the little prayer lantern things does say it's like I beat up that terrible dragon or something like that. And everyone in Onigashima like looking up through the tiny little crack in the ceiling. I mean, like, it's a tiny crack, but there's a whole like giant Luffy there, so you can see everything that's happening. And everyone's like going like our savior, that kind of thing. The presentation is really nice, and also again, animation is fucking lovely. Of course, it is.
I should have. Oh, I've lost your video there for a bit. You're
Oh,
back. Right. The yeah, I should have looked up who did the bit where Kaido's being sold to the government by his king, because that bit really
yeah,
reminded me of some bits out of Ranking of Kings. Um,
I could
in
see
terms of
that. Yeah,
animation.
yeah. The way it kind of like moves and flows, and there's a really good weight to it. God, yeah, I only took that up as well. It is
Uh,
really nice. Yeah, the,
yeah,
the
this
the
is
separate animation for the Kaido's flashback and for the end punch, basically. Yeah.
it's uh, it's a superb. It's been a super, particularly the second half of Wano when the head director changed. Everything seemed to pick up. It's weird. It seems like it's a show that benefited from COVID in that
Yeah,
having to get all these international animators all over the world involved
because
raised everything even higher.
you both have to like be more careful about how you're organizing it, which is important for any anime in any fucking regard. But it's also like you're pulling in all these like amazing fucking talents, like doing wonderful things. Like in the thing where you go back to One Piece and you look at the big fights and stuff because it's like, oh, that'll be fun. In this one, it's like, yeah, go back and check out this guy's work, or go back and check out this woman's work, or that kind of thing. Because it'll be just like it'll be slightly different each time, which is like, well, that's not a consistent animation. It's like, but it'll be fucking gorgeous every time. Like, Wano's going to be something people keep revisiting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah. I went back and watched the last episode, the final punch for No Flamingo, and it's nowhere near the quality of any of these final fights in Wano.
Yeah. Yeah.
Admittedly, it's also a very quick punch because, unlike Kaido, Doflamingo is such an asshole. even defeated, his worldview does not shatter. Which is why he's the best One Piece villain. Like, in terms of pure villainy, he's the best because there's no sympathy for him at all. He's the one villain.
No. They give him a tragic backstory in which he's the bastard of it.
Yeah, I think Wapol used to be the closest to that as being.
And he's gotten redemption since, like.
Yes, he's got sympathy now. At least he's more like comedic. He made a new life for himself outside of Drum Island. So, and as we will see, he'll find himself embroiled in the story again as the next year's worth of episodes come out. The question is, I mean, there's still a little while to go yet.
Yeah.
There's another fight to go.
Dear.
Yeah, but I do wonder whether they're going to have to put a filler arc in a while, and this is like the one chance I think you can put one in after 1A.
And the thing is, you can cut to what are other people doing, because there's lots of characters who just like, what are they doing? We know maybe even roughly what they're doing, but it's like, do that as a whole fucking episode. You can fill it up pretty nicely, I'd say.
Yeah, they could do the Capone Beige cover story. Would be fun. I know they want to eventually do all those cover stories, but I think they've said they're going to do them when the show's finished.
Sure, yeah.
Unless they absolutely have to for continuity reasons.
They're very necessary to the plot. It's very necessary to the plot that the whole, is it a double wedding in
Capone? It's a double wedding.
Yeah.
Then we've got Zom 100, episode 8, Sushi and Hot Springs of the Dead, in which we finally meet the...
Shit, I forgot her name. I was going to try and hang on to it as
well. Because I'm mentally checked out of this show at this point.
I was going to, like, I had her first name in my head, and then her last name
Beatrix.
was the one I was really trying... Beatrix.
Yeah, Amerihauser.
Yeah, the surname was the one that was throwing me the whole time. Yeah.
So they run into zombies. He's going to put his
shark suit,
shark suit on, which I'm glad that's come back, because there was a few times in the previous episodes I was like, "Come on, you got the shark suit, put that back on again."
But it does establish in this one, it's like, it takes a while to put on a wetsuit, so you can't just like leap into, like, do your transformation. It's like, give me a second, I got to put on my wetsuit and my goggles.
Before he has a chance to deal with them, the zombies have been killed by a samurai who has shown up. Who turns out to be this new character who's going to join them and hang out. And she's tried to deliver some chilled fish.
She's got some fresh fish, and then they're like, "Oh, I have reasons to deliver this." And they're like, "Oh my god, she's trying to feed like a colony of people trying to survive the zombie apocalypse." And she's like, "No. I met like a sushi chef a while back, and I hope he's still alive. I haven't really talked to him in a bit, and I want to experience Japanese sushi because I'm a massive Japanophile. Like I'm mad about this fucking culture, and I've not. In my family's home in Bavaria, I looked at the television and I looked at the sushi, and I was like, oh, I dream of sushi one day. And they're all like, oh man, that actually sounds really good. That's going on the list. Yeah, we're doing that now, basically. Get the sushi to the sushi chef. And initially it's just himself on it. And then the other one turns into your boy Kome with her plan to wrangle up the zombies in a way that'll allow them to keep them all in one place and get away with the fresh fish. And your man uses his nudity to distract the zombies, and extreme violence and explosions is, the zombie movie tropes is how they essentially fix it. And the sushi chef was alive, and they got to eat sushi. I was so hoping she was like, it's all right, like, I kind of prefer bratwurst, actually. I could go for a fucking wurst, a currywurst. Oh, be lovely. But you know what I mean? Because Germans' thing of meat is very different from Japan's thing of meat. But no, she loved it. It's nice.
And then they go to some hot springs and forget to check if the hot springs was full of zombies first.
Yeah. before stripping down and hopping in, and then it's like we have to run away, but they sleep in the mountains to hide from the zombies, and there's a natural hot springs, and they're like, "Hey, wait a minute, do we two fancy each other?" The main guy and girl, and so it's like, "Yes, you do." And the other guy showing up is like, "Hey, do you guys fancy each other?" It's like, "Yes, probably. I don't know, maybe." It's like, "Cool, we're all getting in the hot spring now. We're all uncomfortable with each other's nudity." Except for the guys, I guess. They've established they're cool with that at this stage. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the episode.
Hmm.
I mean, it's back to looking like a great show again.
Yeah, it has some real nice flourishes. But yeah, this character did not light the world on fire, would you fucking believe? But I guess I was
Yeah,
expecting more jokes, like I said, of like actually not liking sushi that much or something like that. And like the joke of just like she's gonna talk about Japanese history and shit because and he's like, she knows more about Japan than the Japanese, and she's just playing in fast forward. And I was just like, maybe that's funnier in a comic or something because it's all actually written down there. I don't know. It
yeah,
doesn't quite work.
yeah. I'm not sure this has got great comic timing. I think that
That's
might
the
be
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
they may be good jokes, so it's just kind of flat timing.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
one more episode, and then the last three episodes. Who knows when they will air? I see some people going, "Oh, like very worried about this." It's clearly they've got to wait until there's another slot free,
Hmm.
and then they'll air it from episode one again to episode 12.
Yeah. They'll air it as a new season thing, even though we've already seen most of it. Yeah.
And if not, then it'll be a Blu-ray release, or it'll go to a streaming service, and they'll get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Dark Gathering 11, S-Rank Danger, Castle H Ruins,
Hmm.
Kitaro and Yayoi cycle to their very first S-Rank Danger and bite off more than they can chew
Hmm.
as they are.
This is an actual like spooky story thing where it's like, hey, it's the ghost is powerful, but it's the fact that it can like do shit to your mind and perception is the real fuckery part. Um, so they're looking for I think it's a waterfall, isn't it?
It is. That's the most scary part, reportedly. Yeah. So
Because yeah, that's the spookiest
you
bit.
always like she's knows his S-rank location. She's not sure how threatening this ghost is going to be though, because there's never been any deaths.
Yeah, there's no recorded deaths here. It's just people going like, this is this place where like it's on the hot spots of spooky places. Like, okay, so here are the spooky things that happen. There's a weird old woman that approaches you like even in the middle of the fucking night, which is unusual for an old woman to be out in the middle of the woods. There you hear like the soldiers, the samurais and stuff walking behind you as you're walking through the woods. And yeah, the waterfall is the number one spooky spot, but there's no recorded deaths. So it might just be a benevolent spirit, but it is a powerful spirit, so we do have to catch it. It's
Yes.
the
The
important
old
thing.
lady who guides them to the waterfall explains the terrible thing that happened here, though I'm not sure it is. The description doesn't seem to match the visions he has when he's accosted by the ghosts later.
There's definitely like two fucking things going on. Oh, I meant to say, sorry, in Zom 100, the hot springs that they initially go to, I feel like that was in a different anime, and I was like, it can't have been in what was the zombie thing that was about the local place? It's a girl idol band where they're promoting. It's actually literally promoting the area that it's set in.
Yeah.
Was it from that or was it from something else? I've seen that hot springs in an anime before. It was bugging me and I couldn't think of it. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, the thing in this one was uh it's basically like their village has been taken by whatever the invading army kind of thing. So the women like killed themselves and threw themselves over the
Ye-
waterfall. That
Okay,
seems to be
so
the story.
that seems yeah. So that's what they see. But I okay, so no, okay. In which case it is similar. Is that they threw themselves off and then afterwards they got their heads cut off by
Hmm.
the invaders and put on the
Or
wall.
it was to avoid getting their heads cut off and put on pikes to to make their returning husband warriors like dismayed. It's like, oh, we'll just commit suicide in the waterfall, like robbing them of that. I think it was something like that. Like some of them got their heads cut off. It's a weird thing. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Katara gets accosted by the ghosts who force him to live through that vision, and then he gets a stigmata in his neck from being stabbed.
I thought that was going to prevent him from like shouting for help and stuff. It does not. It does not prevent him from screaming
No,
and
and
shouting and stuff. Yeah.
their thing seems to be they want you to remember their deaths.
Yeah.
Which is what they're doing to Katara, because they're constantly telling him to remember, and then he'll have this.
They're traumatizing him, but they're not like attacking him. They're going like, we're making you live through it so you can't possibly forget the fucked up situation in which we died.
And also, when you die, you'll be here with us. That's the other thing they mentioned.
I mean, like that. There is that's the thing that Yaoi says at the start. It's like it has a powerful curse, so you're cursed to fucking be trapped here with us for all eternity once you die. It's like, okay, that one sucks.
Yes, and his alien plush toy protected him from dying, but he still didn't protect him from the curse. So he's cursed. Meanwhile, Yayoi's wandering off with the old lady, and then Katara grabs her hand and leads her further into the woods, constantly smiling, in which she's suspicious because, like, it's not like you. I like that she audibly says it. You're never normally like this when we go and investigate. I guess you're normally hysterical and frightened.
Usually your teeth are chattering, you're panicking, all that kind of stuff. But I do like the way it's presented. Her instead of her eyes like glazing over or anything, her eyes look like normal fucking eyes. So she's clearly not getting the ghost vision kind of thing.
Yeah, because the ghost has reached into the back of the head. Because that's the other spooky thing that Katara says is he can hear the old lady who's walking in front of him behind him.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a good ghostly thing.
And it's related to one of the spooky things on the website where it's like you can hear the ghost walking behind you. So it's like, okay, there's a messed up perception thing happening here, basically. Yeah.
But she's got the finger thing from the previous episodes.
Yeah, the finger of a former god or current god. So, and the old lady's like, oh, I'm gonna fucking have me that for dinner kind of thing.
But anyway, it ends with Kataro in front of Yayoi's corpse hanging from a tree, going, "Oh my goodness, you're dead. I'm here alone. What the hell am I gonna do?" But then we see the finger move, so we know there is hope. She is not fully dead yet. She can get out of that noose and pull out the most dangerous ghost from her backpack. Teach this ghost a lesson.
It's some dark shit, man. That's the show.
I really like how out of their depth they suddenly are in this episode.
Yeah, because like generally she's under control with extreme violence is generally how she solves it. It's like that's not going to solve this scenario really. You're going to have to think your way through the rules of this ghost, which if it does that more, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's not super flashy, but it's consistent. Every episode is within the realm of the series. Similar is Helk, though is even less flashier than Dark Gathering.
It's not about being flashy with Helk. It's about being the guy with the 16-pack thing who's going to probably solve it with violence, but not in this case, as it happens.
Yeah. Troubadour song. The song turns out the reason it's told that is because Pee-wee knows the song, and that saves the other two.
He knows the tune of the song because he's going like cheap, 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 cheap to the tune of the song, and it's like that's enough. That's all you need, really. But they're trying to protect him from this dark night that is Helk's having trouble beating because he's like, he's doing his thing. He's punching it into a paste, but then it turns into dust and then reforms behind him, and it's like, okay, that's a problem. All right, break his weapon. All right, his weapon also does that. Okay, I'm gonna get Pee-wee the fuck away from this guy as far away as possible. And I'm going to go back and throw fireballs at him. That seems to be a good plan for us. Yeah.
But the problem is, during this fight, Helk starts to go berserk. And we remember the warning of the witch from the mountain. That this guy, he's bottling up his darkness too much. He could go berserk. And I guess we're also supposed to think at this point is like, oh, is this Dark Knight. What could happen to Hulk if he? Um,
Yeah, because again, we see these kind of like similarities. We know people can turn into the ultra humanite or whatever the fuck they call those big monsters. We saw that Bandit King turn into that. This guy is another thing. It's just like I was caught by the evil rage of war, that kind of stuff. So it's like this is a thing that can happen in multiple different ways. Is that what has happened to Hulk in a different regard? Yeah.
yeah, because at one point goes fully half berserk. Half of his face is
In
changed.
shadow, and yeah, he's just sat on top of the Dark Knight and he's just punching him into the fucking ground like he's really trying to win the MMA fight kind of thing, where it's just like, hell, you're not going to beat him that way. He's just going to reform, and also you're scaring me right now. But that's when Pee Wee shows up and starts cheaping the tune to the song and refuses to stop, and that calms down the Dark Knight and Hulk. So the Dark Knight's wandering off into I think like a ruined church or something like that, and they're like, Hulk's like, calm down, and he's like, we should follow him, see what his deal is, and he's lucid enough to talk to them. He's like, hey, thanks for getting me out of my battle trance. I'm the last surviving member of these guys. What was it? Their army used like the darkness or something they called the power, the dark magic or something like that to enhance their combat ability, but then they all went berserk and started killing people. So I used it to save people, but I didn't manage to save anyone. And that's when the troubadour from the last episode shows up. It was like, no, you saved me and a bunch of people, but you were in a battle rage and you didn't notice it. Also, I'm your little sister.
Yeah, that's why you recognize the song.
Hmm.
And come. And they're like, well, as that's sorted, let's carry on our way. And then Pee Wee says, let's have a race. We'll run along these stone steps. Whoever gets there is a winner. Hulk immediately joins in, and then she joins in just because she's carried away by. It is very much like mum and dad and their small green child.
Yeah,
yeah. And I think Pee Wee is stuck because Pee Wee ran out of wall to run along, and then he leaps and flies. She's like, "I told you were a bird."
I knew it. I fucking knew it.
And it's like, I'm not a bird. I'm Pee Wee. He turns his back and does not notice that he's falling into the mouth of a giant monster. And that's where we leave it. I assume that will be resolved very quickly at the start.
Yeah, that's a good cliffhanger, like a comedic cliffhanger. To a very serious, or kind of serious mostly, episode. Yeah.
Particularly because Pee Wee saved the day, so you think his competence level is up, and then
all of a sudden he can fly, and all of a sudden he immediately fucks it up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually just a good, fun, back to basics and fantasy adventure yarn, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, the animation isn't great on it, but like the story is fantastic, and it manages to stick in jokes even among the serious bits. So yeah.
Then we got Undead Girl Murder Farce, episode 12, Where the Rivers Flow Changes. Which our heroes chat for a bit with Victor, and they're like, okay, well, you take a rest here. We're going to go on ahead.
I like the way he was like, "Hey, I thought you were going to have trouble with those guys, so that's why I kicked you off the cliff." And they're like, "Yeah, thanks for getting us out of the situation." He's like, "All right, in exchange, tell me where the werewolves are." And they're like, I mean, that'll prevent us from doing it. He's like, "Don't worry, we can't do nothing during the day. Camilla's fucking has to stay asleep during the day, so that's how much time you'll have. But also, give me the diamond as down payment. I'll give it back to you if you're telling the truth." And they're like, yeah, okay, that we're pretty sure we can resolve this before sunset. They cannot resolve this before sunset. But Victor Frankenstein is a reasonable man, oddly enough. You can talk to him basically. He's still going to enact extreme violence at several occasions. And meanwhile, the guys, the two from Lloyd's, London, or wherever the fuck they're supposed to be from, they go back up to the village and go like, hey, grab your torches and pitchforks. We got a werewolf fucking hunt to go on. Also guns. Bring many guns. That would be good.
So they discover that there is a secret passage between the pair of villages, which someone has been using to live in.
Yeah, someone's been living in between it because it's got like a little bedroll and like just equipment and shit like that. And it's between the old mill on the cliff where the werewolf was burned to death, totally fucking dead. Nothing. I'm sure the secret passage didn't exist back then. No way, no how, no sir. And it goes to like this stone in the werewolf village that seems to be a big obvious spike stone, and she has identified that it's got like a secret button that you press to open up a secret passage because the werewolves are just about to be on them, and they sneak into the tunnel. The werewolf's like, the scent stops here. What the fuck?
It definitely feels at this point that okay, there's a single murderer who's been murdering people from both villages
To kind of set them off against each other or something.
or,
Yeah,
or has reason to have revenge against
both of
both,
them.
which is probably the father of.
It could be still the mother. Like the mother mightn't necessarily be dead. That's the thing. Like, yeah.
I'm just thinking because of the way the doctor's behaving at the end of the episode.
Yeah, it's
as if,
probably the
as,
doctor. He's
as if
super suspect, basically.
as if he's gone and realised, oh no, I've gone too far. Because he's seeing the werewolf village burn down. He's having flashbacks to
Yeah, that's true.
in the town. We also learned that the disabled girl, her parents had left her out to die in the wilderness, aged 4.
Yeah, and that's when she discovered the secret to the secret werewolves in town. And it's like, but we went back for her. And it's like, yeah, but she does know that we abandoned her to die. Or we chose to, even though we chose to not do it in the end.
She was saved by the werewolf, but then she let everybody know she was a werewolf because she realized, even at the age of 4, the only way she had a chance of surviving
is by proving she was useful to them.
Is to prove that she was useful, yeah.
Because a small farming village, you're in a wheelchair, you're not going to be doing much farming. She's like, shit, I better become their guardian angel, as they eventually keep calling her. Yeah.
And then the last 10 minutes are total utter chaos as Royce show up, Banquet show up, the village shows up.
Werewolves and villagers murdering the fuck out of each other. Royce just randomly murdering werewolves. The banquet, like Frankenstein going like, "Oh, you want to fucking start shit, do you?" To the chain. I can't remember their terrible names. Not the 2-gun kid, the chain wielder.
Yeah, so the woman with the 2 guns, the short woman with the 2 guns is fighting Crowley.
Yeah.
Frankenstein's fighting the guy who fights with the chain. Shizuku ends up finding her arch enemy Camilla.
Yeah, she's asked for permission to leave. It's like, hey, mistress, because can I leave you now? Because she's been given her uniform except for her underpants. I don't know if that's plot important or just a joke on your man's part. She's like, do you mind if I go check out the thing? And she's like, yeah, absolutely, go check it out. Because she wants to save this werewolf that showed her kindness and is also probably a lesbian, much like herself. But Camilla has got herself a big pile of, I was going to say seduced. That's not the correct word. Drugged up werewolf women, basically.
Yeah, so they're going to be paired off fighting next week. Our hero hasn't met anyone to fight yet, has he? I assume Jack the Ripper's going to show up next week for him to fight.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the little redhead werewolf and Aya have gone to the graveyard and dug up the grave, and now Aya has got everything solved. She'd click her fingers if she still had fingers.
See, the thing of her just going like, I'm going to look at these clues. Oh, there's a tunnel between the two. And by the time they check it out at the house, it's already, the sun's already gone down. So they know their fucking time limit is up. It's like, now to do a little more investigation. And it's like both villages are being slaughtered by each other. And I was just like, you're going to solve this murder when like a massacre has fucking happened.
Particularly because like 2 episodes ago, she basically said she knew who did it.
Yeah, but she's just trying to confirm. You got to have evidence.
Because the other important thing to her was like, oh, so when morning comes, you go to bed, and when night comes, you get up in the werewolf village. The opposite of what the humans do.
That would be really easy for someone to work between those 2 time slots. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess catch naps inside that tunnel.
Yeah.
So one more episode, which will be the final for quite a while because there's not much more story they can tell. So I suspect we're not going to get the banquet stuff resolved.
No, probably not.
Will they get some werewolf genetics to splice into Jack the Ripper though? Because that's why they're there.
Yeah. So it would be weird if he didn't show up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I assume he's going to show up each time now, as to fight his counterpart.
And yeah, like the way it seems to be going is like Jack the Ripper will win, but they will also win in the thing they're trying to do a little bit.
Yeah, and it feels like both these encounters, we've kind of got the idea that like Crowley and Frankins and Victor aren't quite as bad as the other ones. They're bad, but they're not quite as bad as the.
Like Crowley just wants to murder people because it's funny, and Frankenstein is just like you can talk him down. He's still going to do the thing he wants to do, but you can reason with him a little. Because even to the chain fighter, he's kind of like, you'd be a bad match for me. I'm gonna let you walk away if you want to walk away right now. But obviously, you know, because you're part of fucking Lloyd's of London monster killing division, it's kind of like it's just no, you stink so bad. I'm gonna definitely murder you right now. And it's just like you're probably not gonna win against Frankenstein, but all right, give it a go.
I do wonder whether they're going to play into the was Aleister Crowley a secret agent thing from real life.
It's the apple's right fucking there within reach, man. Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yes, like has he been sent by the British government to spy on Moriarty?
And the other handy thing about that is because these two guys are the British agents who are number 3 and 4. So you only have number 1 and 2 left of this organization. So it'd be nice to have a different bunch of historical spies to work with. Yeah, and Crowley could be part of that. Up to them though. Like they got a lot more to do before they adapt it. So.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I kind of wish this was wrapping up this episode because there's a lot. There's like a few clues, but a lot of chaos. And I think it's better when it is just being a detective. And that ending bit where it's doing those square zooms, I hated that. Absolutely hated that. It was like I was watching somebody's bad PowerPoint presentation.
There's some weird choices for that. Like I did enjoy the like character reactions to like the clue being dropped in the prior episodes. But there's some weird choices like the zoom in on the little squares of what each character is doing, who has been paired off fighting who, that kind of thing. I was like, yeah, we know you established that. You don't have to do the split screen thing. It's fine.
Yeah, I also because of that, because of some the odd ways the episodes end sometimes. I do wonder if they've got any plan to cut these together into movies.
Right. Yeah.
Or if
they'd work as a long story.
It's movies. Yeah, because particularly that ending this week just seemed like, well, it's ending and we haven't really got a massive cliffhanger, so we'll just do something visually interesting.
Yeah. And again, I like unless her plan was like fuck this entire situation, all of this was fucked. That's why I let you murder each other. Coming back is like, I've solved the murder. Oh god, lots of people are dead. Well, I guess me solving the murder doesn't really fucking matter now. Because that seems to be the case based on this ending.
I guess when you're immortal,
you don't
your
fucking
sense
care.
of time is thrown off. Yeah.
Your sense of time or other people's mortality might be a bit weird, yeah.
Then we got Jujutsu Kaisen, season 2, episode 9, Shibuya Incident, Gate Open. What happened in this bad boy?
Oh God, no! I'm trying to remember, and I'm stuck because it's just me. And my brain also has what's happening in the comic in my head, and that's not fucking helping me much.
no, I would not. I can tell you what it tells you on Crunchyroll if you like.
Give me the broad strokes, and that'll probably catch me up.
Bear with me. Let me go to Jujutsu Kaisen.
I do remember that kind of Gojo is still doing the fight, and like we established the last time, where it's like they're like, haha, you can't use your full powers here because you'll get a bunch of innocent people killed, and you're fine with letting an amount of humans get killed by curses, but you're not fine with Gojo killing a bunch of humans to kill a bunch of curses. That's your moral standard kind of thing. And it's just like, no, he's kind of going fairly ham on him with his powers, where to the point where he squashes, is it Kamui is the woods? The fear of the
No,
woods.
no, it's okay. So here we go. The battle between Satoru Gojo, Jogo, Hanami, and Shoso begins. Gojo informs Hanami that they will die first. Yuji encounters a woman who tells him that everyone was turned into monsters and boarded a train. As Gojo's battle continues, the train arrives.
That's actually framed really well. Yeah, we don't get much with Yuji, but we do get that bit where he finds a woman who's kind of panicking. It's like they all left me, and he's like, "Oh, it's going to be okay. We'll get you out here." It's like we all got turned into monsters, and they said there was no room on the train, so they left me. And she's like, "Blah!" Turns into a monster, and he's like, "Wait a minute, there's a train full of monsters that are transformed humans down there." It's like, "Oh shit." Because the way Gojo's fight has been going is pretty fucking good. He squashes the curse of woods into the wall, and your man's like, "Oh, shit, I'm in a lot of trouble. I'm gonna keep throwing humans at him, which are just bouncing off his infinity force field. You know how that shit works. But then it's building up as like they establish the plan. We need to hold Gojo still for in one place within 4 meters or something like that for 5 minutes, and they're like, "That is we can't fucking do that, man." It's like, no, it'll work, trust me, it'll work. So our volcano curse is like delighted to see the train full of fucking transformed humans show up. Who like the humans are like, "Oh, brilliant, the train's here, we can finally go home." Because they've just been like there's a mad flying man around the place and people keep exploding or setting on fire. It's just like, we want to leave this place. But the train is full of monsters. The monsters come out and start eating people. And Gojo's like, all right, I'm doing the what's the thing where he like stops time? I've forgotten half of his fucking abilities names. But basically stops time for like a couple of seconds, basically, long enough that he's like, I've estimated that a normal human will be able to survive this. This is the bare maximum that they can do without causing brain death in them, basically. So he stops time for like a couple of seconds and runs around at super speed, chopping up all the transformed humans and leaving the other humans fine. And he's like, "Whoo, out of breath. I think I'm good. All that's done. I'm okay." And then his best friend appears. Is like, "Hey, Gojo, how's it going?" He's like, "Oh, my best friend," and his entire background with him flashes through his eyes. Which, because that is a time, it just has to be 5 minutes in Gojo's head. Because his entire youth flashes through his eyes. That's longer than 5 minutes, and he was standing fucking still. Boom, you're in a box now. Haha, caught you, fucker. That's how you get him. And he does establish when he's about to be pulled into the box, he's like, "Hey, wait a minute, you're not my best friend, are you?" He's like, you got me, check it out, open up. I'm a brain inside his body. Anyway, into the box you go. Bye-bye. So, yeah, things are fucked, basically.
Is this the first point they reveal that Ghetto is not Ghetto actually?
I think this is the first one. I mean, like, obviously it's been kind of hinted at because he looks a little bit different. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the flip top head.
And especially because of the flashback they did in the prior episodes, it's like this was his plan, Ghetto's plan to some extent. So just like, yeah, it seems like working with curses might be a thing he'd be willing to do, that kind of thing. But yeah, this is the first reveal of no, it's not him anymore, even though it is going along with his plan, kind of.
Yeah, and we don't get a name till even later.
Yeah, no, I don't think we get any kind of indication as to what this thing is yet. Just it establishes that it changes bodies, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then we've got something I did watch. Bungo Stray Dogs, Season 5, Episode 61, Twilight Goodbye. Amazing episodes.
Like the problem is like talking about other stuff, and even One Piece, which is fucking class. Like this is such a good. It's fair to call this the ending, right? It's at least the ending of this arc, at least. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so well done.
Yes. So Aya does indeed leap off the top of the tower onto the table to get that goddamn sword out. Saving Atsushi in the process because he's about to be bitten by Akutagawa.
Not just saving Atsushi, saving the fucking world, basically.
Yes.
But also because she saved everything else, and release Bram. He's like, hey, I grown my body back. Now I'm in control of all vampires. So I told Atsushi to grab you rather than slice up this guy. And I told all the other vampires to stand the fuck down. And also he like he genuflects to her as like, you're the boss now because you saved me and the entire world. So
and
you're
because
cool.
you look like a princess I used to know.
His daughter, presumably. Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the chief, he's up. He's got a plan. It's the best, and it's the best. I'm
It's
going to
so
use my
good.
I'm going to use my body to block a sword, and which is a great thing. I love that whenever it shows up, but then it takes it one step further because he's got to remove the sword out of Kikuchi's hand, so he can't use his power on it. So he takes it, then twists it, and then
Well, no.
slashes him across the neck with it.
It's not only that. Like it's the fact that it's just like, all right, I'm gonna pull a knife on him, and he's like, he's got a knife. I'll get the knife out of his hand. It's just like, I know I've stabbed him through, and he's like, now that you've stabbed me through, your sword is stuck in me. Haha, my sword now. And he's like, well, all I need to do is make sure you die. It's like, no. I'm gonna swing my body around and cut you with a sword that is stabbed through
Yeah.
me. It's the fact that it's just like, see, you're not holding the sword. And it's like, well, I'll just kill you and take the sword out of you and then go back in time and make sure that didn't fucking happen. It's like, no, because I'm going to kill you with the sword. It's very nice.
Yes. Then meanwhile, over in Germany, uh, Dostoevsky's getting ready to leave. Can I have the cure, please?
No, absolutely. You can have the cure. And he's taking the cure. He's like, oh, Jesus, my hand's all fucked up. Hey, one of you fucking vampires, will you fly the helicopter? And he's like, absolutely, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. So everything's going up Dostoevsky's way.
What happened to Sigma? Well, he's asleep. He's not going to wake up again.
Hmm.
And then he gets stabbed through the chest by one of the vampires.
Where did that vampire even get that rebar to stab him through the chest? Doesn't fucking matter. It's pretty cool because obviously, as we've established, Bram Stoker is now in control of all vampires. So now these vampires are against you, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And Dazai's like, "Hello, it's me, Dazai. I planned all this. I didn't plan all this, but basically." I trusted other people to do their fucking part of the plan. You were in this alone, working everyone against each other. I was in this as a group. Even though I was manipulating people, I was also trusting that they would do a good job. And a random little girl, which he didn't account for in his fucking plan, was also that like, yeah, I trusted in the goodness of humanity to save the day, basically.
Plus a few plans I also had in motion. But yeah,
Yeah.
before he gets to that bit, though, he steps in and goes, I was so close to dying, but you see, you just can't kill me. While Dostoevsky's dying in the helicopter. Because it turns out Chuya was never a vampire. He just put contact lenses in.
And has super glued fake vampire teeth on. That's a great reveal. And also he used these gravity powers to stop the bullet right in front of his head to make it look like he'd been shot in the face. It still hit him in the head because Chuya did want to hit him in the head, but still, not enough to kill him. That's a great reveal. You just assume that guy was a vampire. You need to check if people are vampires. You can't just assume. Dear.
Meanwhile, the two old men have retreated into the story that Poe had written.
Well, the book happened to fall open, and the story that it apparently Poe wrote was the story of their childhood, which they're going to relive through while they're both bleeding out, going like, "What happened with us, man? Where did we go wrong?" And it's just that they have different / exactly the same ideal.
Yes, they want to end war, and so this all Fikuchi's plan is to put an end to the war by putting all the military powers in the world under one person, and then Fukuzawa said, "Yeah, but that's going to somebody. If you want that, that's going to corrupt you." He goes, "Yeah, that's why my plan didn't involve me getting it. It involved you getting it."
I would get 100% corrupted. I've seen some fucked up shit. I've lived through war. Because that was the thing as well, when he slices him with the sword that is stabbed through his own fucking chest, and he sees his face, and his face is like, good job. Like, basically, it's just his expression is just like, yes. Not like, yes, you fall into my evil plan. It's like, I planned for you to fucking murder me in this regard. It's all going pretty well. So I'm going to put it in the I'm going to make absolute power, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, but I'm going to give it to you because I trust you won't get corrupted absolutely by it. That's how much he believed in his friend, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the way that he's discussing it. Is like explained using Japan as an example. Like what's the chance that all the provinces would go to war again now? It's zero. So if we apply near zero. So if we apply that thought to the entire world,
It's an
we can.
interesting kind of concept. Yeah, the warring states, like Japan was fucking beating the shit out of itself with itself, like for the longest fucking time. But then, and again, you can fucking talk about the empire being a problem for the rest of the fucking world. But like under the empire, is like Japan's not going to fight each other anymore. They're just going to kind of be like, oh, those people from the next county over, they have this notion, but they're not going to actively fight each other. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what his plan was. And then
They get to the end of their youth and they go back to the real world. He's like, right, now I'm gonna need you to finish me off because now we're in the real world. So like, the cameras are fucking rolling. You do you like it's good that you kill me in the real world so that it can be seen as a fucking thing, that kind of thing. And your man's like, I'm not gonna you just proven to me you're not evil, so like I'm not gonna fucking kill you. It's like, cool, my second in command is gonna just walk up and fucking stab me through the chest then. Because I did plan in case you wouldn't do that as well. So she does that, and she's obviously distraught about it. Um, but she kind of thrusts the sword that she killed or stabbed him through with into Iran's hand. It's like, don't fuck this up. And I think that's when Rampo shows up to go like, "Hey, Chief, what do you want to do with this radio?" And he's like, "All right, I'm gonna fucking smash it into the ground. I'm gonna break it. Fuck this." He can't do it because his friend sacrificed everything up to his life to do this, and shit, absolute
yes.
power. Mm.
And then we get the message 2 hours later, everything has gone completely to shit. And
The world is
Sushi and
at peace for 2
Akitazawa,
hours, and
yeah,
oh man.
and the only ones left standing. Akitazawa appears to have some sort of Bloodborne style armor at this point for some
Oh,
reason.
he's not a vampire anymore as well. That he's cured. He's been cured of vampirism in the last 2 hours, so that's nice.
Uh, yeah, and it seems to be Fukuchi under the mask, but possibly just his body because it's got his scars, if but not his
Yeah.
beard.
Hmm.
Because I first thought before I spotted that I was like, oh, the chief has been, yeah, absolute power does crap, absolute. It took
Within 2
2
hours, yeah.
hours, yeah,
Hmm.
but it's possible. I guess it's either the sword or One Order itself because
Yeah,
we've
or
had
that someone like this man has absolute power. So it's like, so you're saying if I take this guy, I have absolute power. Okay, okay, like that kind of situation. Yeah.
yeah, but we've had the thing introduced of like ability users creating items with their
That
will.
their will or their power
Yeah,
is within it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So has possibly now he's a corpse that time controlling sword is now exerting its will on him. Anyway, I suspect it's a long time before we're going to find out because, as we've said, this stuff in this episode hasn't appeared in the comics yet.
Yeah. So I mean, like for us in the real world, the world will be this world will be at peace for a long, long time. But
Yeah,
in the story, for 2 hours, the world would be at peace.
if
They
that.
prevented nuclear Armageddon. Everything's cool. Yeah.
Uh, of course, there was never actually going to be a nuclear. That was just the pretense for him taking control of.
I mean, yeah, he made it look like there
Things.
was going to be a world war, but I mean, it
Yeah.
probably scared the fuck out of everyone to see the ICBMs be like just plonk into the fucking sea and that kind of thing. It's still scary, is what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah. It's a Watchmen ending without killing loads of people in New York. Um,
He does specify though that he was willing to kill up to 500 people to do this plan, and himself, I assume, was in that.
yeah.
But I mean, like for world peace, he's like 500 people. That's good numbers. I think I've done a pretty good job if I kept it under the bare maximum. Yeah.
Oh, the other important thing is, so yeah, Dostoevsky gets well. seemingly finished off anyway.
He's stabbed through with rebar. The vampires fly the helicopter into a fucking tower, exploding it, and then the helicopter crashes into the ground. So Dostoevsky is 100% absolutely dead. No way he could come back from that, even though we don't know what his powers are. So
Yes.
that's
But
an
Dazai has
important
got.
fucking thing.
Dazai does have one of his arms.
I mean, you can be fine with one arm. That's fine.
Well, that's the important thing, is because you see. So
he gives it to the magician. Yeah, because the magician's
no,
like,
well, no, because Dazai can go and help Sigma because he can
Yeah.
use his power to cancel him
Whatever.
using the power up. But we know that Sigma can use his power on corpses, so he could now touch that arm and get the information from Dostoevsky, perhaps without activating the ability that sent him into a coma in the first place.
And the other thing about like guys putting their abilities into items or weapons or radios or whatever the fuck, might he have a like much like you had the head of Vlad attached to the sword that lets you control all the vampires that you make him bite as a sword. Now you have Dostoevsky's power like that you as a severed arm that you can just touch people with and do whatever it is his fucking power does. Like, and that might be the thing that corrupts him within 2 fucking hours. Like, who fucking knows?
Or Dostoevsky has done that himself. There's an
like, that was part of his plan. I planned to sever my arm. I cut it off as the helicopter was fucking crashing into the tower. Yeah, that seems pretty likely.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they were feeling a little too confident that he was dead. Though, to be fair, I feel like in most cases you would be in that circumstance.
In most cases that weren't shows like this, you should be fairly confident that being stabbed through with rebar by a vampire in a helicopter that is then crashed into a building and then explodes and then crashes into the ground. I'm like, yeah, that guy's probably dead. It's like, yeah, what was his power though? What could he do? That's very important. We didn't know that. That could be anything. It might be I can survive all helicopter crashes. I don't fucking know. Does that have to do with War and Peace or Crime and Punishment? Wrong fucking book. Yeah.
Yes, but obviously part of his confidence that Sigma was going to stay in a coma is because Dazai was dead.
Yeah.
Obviously that's not true. So I assume Sigma is going to be revived in whatever situation is going to happen next. Anything can happen in the next 2 hours, and apparently has.
So, like, this season has been so good, and a great fucking ending. Really well pulled together. Like, it ties it together very well. The character writing and the interconnectivity like works so fucking good. And then it also goes like, hey, this is what's coming up, and I was like, fuck, that's going to be class. Like the fact that it's managed to do that as well. Just so well done.
Because there's also a possibility that this isn't where the comic's going, and they're setting up for an anime only ending.
That would be the smart thing to do as well. It's like, no, the world's going to be fine. Like this is the actual ending of the comic. Like there's no alternative fucking shit. Yeah, it could be.
Because the to be continued. When I got that bit, I was like, now. Is that the 2 hours particularly made me think? Now, is this a TV series that's to be continued in, or is it as a movie?
Yeah. I would think a movie, like, because it's not perfect length for a movie. Perfect length for a movie is an hour and a half, but still, you could still fucking do a 24 2-hour thing and compress it into an hour and a half very nicely.
Yeah. This was a superb episode to a very enjoyable series. I say it's the best one since season 1. Mainly because it had no light novel content in it.
That did help a lot as well. It was all fucking go, no filler. Yeah.
Yeah. But this was a superb final episode. Boy, I was absolutely full of joy watching the end of this. And part of that is because of how bleak everything seemed in the previous episode.
You're fucked. Everything's fucked. Oh, you thought that was going well? No, it's fucked. Like, it's so good at making everything seem like there's no way they can come back from this. And the simple thing of it's just like, a random little girl that we saved in season 1 has saved the day. Also, that guy was only pretending to be a vampire because you didn't fucking check. He's just wearing red contact lenses, and he's very frustrated he can't get these fake vampire teeth out again because apparently they're just the boss super glued him to his regular teeth. Not great, but That's funny. That's a very simple solution to all these complicated plans.
Then we got Noble Farmer, episode 12, Arakawa, Martian farming pioneer.
I like the characters like, whoa, we're going straight to sci-fi. It's like, yep, we've run out of farming stories. Here's theoretical shit.
We get Shigeru Chiba in his Fist of the North Star narrator mode, telling us the terrible future that our planet has. And so we're going to have to go to Mars, terraform Mars, and then start shipping produce back from Mars to Earth, which will have a teleporter for the produce, but not for anybody on Mars who wants to come back to Earth.
It's 15 years back and forth from Earth to Mars, or it's 15 years from Mars to be close enough to Earth to actually do a mission. I think is the thing.
Yeah.
For them to be in the same rotational orbit, but we do have a teleporter just so you can send the crops back to us. All right, send us the good shit because we're having a food deficit on Earth, basically. Which they're like, what the fuck? Understandably. Especially when you've established that you do have teleporters, so I don't fucking know. Yeah.
But then, which is probably the best bit of satire on farmers of this entire series, Martians turn out to be living on the planet as well.
Yeah.
Initially, they think the Martians are squid-like aliens, but that turns out to be the livestock of the sort of squid-like humans who live on the planet.
See, I thought those were just sexy, regular humans who wear bits of squid as clothes. Because as we've established, it's like you wear wool if you were farming sheep. You wear tentacles if you farm octopus.
And because they're willing to pay twice as much as Earth is for the food that's being produced on Mars, they start trading human food for these squids. One of which Arakawa keeps as a pet, and the rest of which she is going to murder and turn into food, which horrifies the Martians.
Yeah, just the way it's just like, oh man, these tentacles are pretty. You said that you can eat their liver, so what we're going to do is we're going to fatten up that liver and just jam in food down their little octopus fucking face. And it's like, okay, we're going to cut off your front tentacles so you can't fucking climb out of your cage and that kind of shit. And we're going to eat them in front of you. And the Martian's like, Jesus Christ, we better not cross these fucking humans. And it's like, and so peace was formed between the Earthlings and the Martians. The Martians are just there sweating. It's like, please don't fucking murder us. It's pretty good, Jim.
It's pretty good. A very sort of cynical take on both humanity and farmers in this last episode.
And they just barely managed to avoid a colonizing genocide. The Martians are very afraid it could happen at any fucking day now. But yeah, it's a fun ending to a fun fucking show as well. I was surprised. I was like, oh, we're at the ending because it's doing a time skip, I guess. I'm sure she didn't run out of farm stories. It's just like, this is a fun way to go. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's probably just this was a fun chapter to end the TV series on. And then we got Ikimoto-san, episode 12, Love.
This one's pretty great. It's initially like got the kind of what would you call it? The boy's delusion. There's images of expressions of love between different animals. But it's done in like this really kind of pencily, scratchy style. It's really lovely. It reminds me of like a more simplified. I think it's because of the level of detail and the fact that the camera's constantly zooming and panning around. What's that Christmas fucking thing? The snowman. The snowman. Yeah, it reminds me of that kind of shit because the camera's constantly moving around and zooming in on these different animals doing their different mating dances and love expressions to each other, and it settles on the turtle, which I think, or a terrapin, or I think it's a terrapin, which tickles the face of its prospective partner, and it's like, that's how you express love to someone. And the boy creates a wave of this between multiple different species, starting with the dog, obviously, and their reaction to, like, they're just like so delighted to have been expressed love from someone else. And I think then they form a cult. I'm not sure what the fuck is happening at the end there.
Yeah, they all sit in a circle and snap their underpants together. Or shorts, rather.
They're all united in, like I said, look, it's very cult looking. It's good.
Sorry, this is episode 11. not episode 12.
Oh, sorry, I think I had the wrong one.
I think your count is off is because you counted the pilot as one of the episodes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Where it's just called pilot on the website. And there is an AI version where they recreated the noises and the dialogue with AI, and it's nowhere near as good. I assume. Obviously, the joke is that it's I is the name of the episode.
I is love. AI is this is AI generated content, very fucking topical right now. Yeah, and I think you were saying the joke being that it's crap. It's not as good. It's not as funny.
I assume that's partially the point of doing it is the pun, and then yeah, it's not going to replace getting some comedians in to make noises anytime soon.
Yeah. Those are all ones where they're reacting and trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Those are pretty fun.
Yeah, because that's part of the big part of the appeal beyond the animation is the performances of the voice actors of like expressing stuff in a mostly non-verbal.
Like you're making noises to do sound effects and stuff, but you're not allowed to use words to express anything.
It's very much in the realm of Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the noises, you get the occasional word, but for the most part, it's silent.
It's not just because like it's a short and compressed, you can do a lot of funnier stuff. But I compare it to Molcar as well, in that this would work anywhere because you're not using words. You've expressed it through like a universal kind of humor. It would work quite well. It's at a boy in his underpants, like, and his dog is being like weirdly closely uncomfortable. It's like, yeah, you get that. It's funny. It's just funny to look at.
Yes. I assume there's an episode next week. As people said, there was 52 of these, but
God, I fucking hope so. Unless they're including the the alternate ones where they get like people to come in or an AI to come in, that would double up the number.
Yes, that would. We'll see if there's one next week. I'm hoping there is. If there's not, this was a decent finale because it had all the animals back.
Yeah.
That's it for this week. Nothing else. So next week, no Bungo Stray Dogs.
Yeah.
Everything else, and no Noble Farmer. I assume there'll be some Ikemoto-san.
Is there anything fancy happening in One Piece that we need to check in on, or
no? But there is a canon episode of Detective Conan to watch.
Oh, lovely. Okay,
that turned up quite quickly. So yeah, we'll have that to watch. Yeah, I think One Piece episode was just everybody going.
I'll probably watch it for that reason, but other than that, yeah.
And then teasing at the end, human adult Momo. But that will be 178 that we'll get to see his drop dead handsome face. Possibly the most handsome character which has ever been drawn in One Piece.
It's not difficult. It's not a high bar, but yeah, probably.
No, exactly. Yeah, it probably is. You're right. It's not a high bar. I know people find Sanji and Zoro handsome.
I mean, they essentially have the same shape of head and everything, so yeah.
But they are also occasionally pretty goofy. Yeah, so that'll be it for now. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.